On the shelves of many liquor stores, there are whiskey bottles that look incredibly luxurious, famous, and are advertised as legends. But what happens if some of those familiar brands aren't quite what we think they are? Behind the beautiful labels are sometimes controversial stories, clever marketing, and little-known truths. Today we will explore famous whiskey brands that surprise many when they learn the truth behind them. And let's start with the name at number 7. Top 7. WhistlePig. WhistlePig is often promoted as a serene farm-style craft distiller. The brand image is tied to vast fields, classic farms, and the promise of a signature craft rye whiskey. The 10-year-old WhistlePig bottle is often sold at a high price, leading many to believe they are enjoying a product distilled entirely on the brand's farm. But upon closer inspection, the story isn't so simple. Their famous 10-year-old rye is actually not distilled at that farm. Most of the spirit is sourced from a large distiller in Canada. The whiskey is then transported by tanker trucks across the border and finally aged or bottled at the location the brand promotes. This causes many to ask questions. Are customers paying for the actual quality of the whiskey or for the farm story told on the label? A small detail on the label reveals that the product originates from Canada, but not everyone notices it. So, is the image of a craft rye whiskey actually just a cleverly built marketing facade? And if this story surprised you, the next name on the list is even more controversial. Top 6. Hudson Baby Bourbon. When the craft spirits movement began to explode, Hudson Baby Bourbon was seen as a pioneering icon. This brand was born in a period when small distillers began to appear more frequently, carrying stories of artisanal production and an innovative spirit. Small bottles with handwritten labels created a very special feeling, making buyers believe they owned a rare product made with meticulous care. However, what surprised many was the aging time of this bourbon. While most traditional bourbons require many years in oak barrels to develop flavor, Hudson Baby Bourbon was only aged for about 3 months. The producer explained that they used much smaller barrels than the standard ones, and that allowed the whiskey more contact with the wood, thereby speeding up the maturation process. But many experts question this theory, because the maturation process of whiskey is not just about absorbing wood flavors, but also a series of complex chemical reactions that take place over time. Increasing the contact area with wood might make the whiskey taste more woody, but it cannot replace the years needed to create balance and smoothness. Many critics, upon trying this bourbon, described its flavor as very young, harsh, and lacking depth. Some even suggested it was a prime example of marketing preceding quality. The story of Hudson Baby Bourbon makes many wonder, can time really be shortened in the world of whiskey, or is it just an attractive promise for buyers? Top 5. Johnnie Walker Blue Label. In the world of whiskey, very few names have the visual appeal of Johnnie Walker Blue Label. The deep blue bottle is placed in a luxurious box, often appearing in liquor store glass cases as a symbol of class. Its price also reflects that, leading many to believe it is one of the finest blended scotches. But when looking deep into the details, many began to question its true value. Blue Label has no age statement for the whiskey in the bottle. This means the youngest component in the blend could be quite young compared to what buyers imagine. Additionally, the whiskey is bottled at the common minimum alcohol level and undergoes chill filtration to ensure clear color. However, this process can also remove some natural flavor compounds. What many debate is the gap between the reputation and the spirit itself. Some experts judge Blue Label to be an easy drinking and balanced whiskey, but not necessarily superior to many scotches priced much lower. So, what made it an icon? Is it the long brand history, the luxurious bottle design, and the social status associated with it? Or is it simply a perfect example of the power of marketing in the spirits industry? Top 4. Macallan 12 Double Cask. Macallan has long been regarded as one of the most prestigious single malt brands. The brand's rare editions are often auctioned for massive prices, making the name Macallan an icon in the collecting world. That reputation also trickles down to more common lines like Macallan 12 Double Cask. This bottle is often sold at a much higher price than many other 12-year-old single malts on the market. What many debate is whether that price comes from superior quality or primarily from the power of the brand. Macallan 12 Double Cask is bottled at a common strength, uses caramel coloring to ensure consistent color, and undergoes chill filtration. These are common practices in the industry, but they are not always appreciated by whiskey enthusiasts. When compared to some other single malts of the same age but with higher proof and less processing, many argue that Macallan 12 doesn't quite stand out as much as its reputation suggests. Its flavor is still easy to drink, with light fruit notes and soft oak, But the question remains, are buyers paying for the whiskey itself or for the Macallan name printed on the label? Top 3. Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. Fireball is a phenomenon in the beverage world. The small bottles with the fire-breathing demon image have become a common choice at parties and bars. The sweet cinnamon flavor and easy drinkability make it particularly popular with those new to whiskey. But behind that popularity is a story that surprises many. The large-sized Fireball bottles actually contain Canadian whiskey flavored with cinnamon. However, the small bottles widely sold in many convenience stores are not quite the same. Their labels only say Fireball Cinnamon, and the ingredients are actually a malt beverage flavored like whiskey. This allows the product to be sold in many places that do not have a liquor license. The problem lies in the fact that the design and name of these bottles are almost identical to the real whiskey version. Many buyers do not realize the difference until they read the fine print on the label. This confusion has led to lawsuits, as some customers claim the labeling can mislead them into thinking they are buying whiskey. The Fireball story poses an interesting question. When a product looks like whiskey, is placed next to whiskey, and has a name nearly identical to whiskey, what are consumers actually buying? Top 2. Angel's Envy. Angel's Envy was once seen as a fresh idea in the bourbon world when it introduced the method of finishing whiskey in port wine barrels. The idea sounds very appealing. After the bourbon is aged traditionally, it is transferred to port casks to add layers of fruit flavors and a subtle sweetness. This combination quickly caught the attention of bourbon lovers. But there is a detail rarely mentioned in the brand's advertisements. The base bourbon itself wasn't always distilled by the brand. Instead, the spirit was purchased from other distillers before being finished in port barrels. Some critics argue that the influence of the port casks is sometimes so strong that it masks the inherent character of the bourbon. This leads many to ask, does this finishing process truly highlight the quality of the spirit? Or is it just a way to create a flavor distinction? As the trend of finishing whiskey in different types of casks becomes more popular, many other producers have adopted similar methods with more highly regarded results. Therefore, Angel's Envy is often seen as a pioneer of this trend, but not always its most perfect example. Top 1. Templeton Rye. Templeton Rye once built one of the most compelling origin stories in the whiskey industry. According to initial marketing, it was a rye whiskey using a Prohibition-era recipe, secretly produced by farmers in a small town. The story was even linked to anecdotes about famous figures in the criminal world of that time, giving the brand a very special legendary aura. But everything began to change when a class-action lawsuit came to light. Legal documents showed that most of Templeton Rye's whiskey was actually distilled at a large plant in Indiana, using a standard recipe sold to many other brands. This meant that the origin tied to that small town only related to the bottling location, not where the whiskey was distilled. There was even information that flavoring agents were added to create a unique profile for the product. Following the lawsuit, the brand was forced to change its labeling and remove many previous advertising claims. This incident caused many in the whiskey community to discuss a bigger question. When a brand builds an image based on history and tradition, but that history is later called into question, what truly remains in the bottle? The world of whiskey is full of fascinating stories, from long-standing traditions to clever marketing strategies. But sometimes what appears on the label doesn't reflect the whole story behind it. The most important thing for enthusiasts is perhaps not just the brand's reputation, but knowing exactly what they are drinking and why they chose it. If you find this information interesting, please hit like and subscribe to the channel to explore many more surprising stories in the world of spirits.